As Amy said, I helped curate the gender section, which is downstairs in the current exhibition of Perpetual Revolution. I'm an artist. I am a native New Yorker, a fourth-generation New York Jew, and I have been working at the intersection of art and community organizing for about 20 years. So when the election broke, I panicked and fell into a spiral for about 3 weeks, and then kind of came out of the fog of it and realized that this is what I'd been training to do for a long time, which was help people understand the role of art and images in movement building, and just understood that there was going to be a lot of work that was going to unfold over the next few years, and got in touch with a bunch of the smartest people I knew who also thought about the role that images play in movement building and in community organizing, yeah. And I should also mention that, like, you know, the curating is one element of what I do, but a lot of the work that I've been doing about 10 years ago or so, maybe sometime in the last decade, I realized that I was not really male or female, and started to try to understand and explore what my gender meant to me, and started working on projects within queer communities and trans communities, which are mostly underground. Like, it's only in the last 4 years or so that gender nonconformity has been visible. So think a lot about historical erasure and things like that. But most of the work that I did was really for the benefit of trying to build a strong community in trans, queer, gender nonconforming people, and to do my part in moving our movement along and making queer visibility a thing. So there's some experience that I guess I've lived through in going from needing to dig through secret and hidden archives to find pictures of people who looked like me, and understanding that, like, the world was not organized to include people like me, and then having, like, Laverne Cox on Orange is the New Black and all of that break and become visible. Like, images do hold a lot of power. That there is no question about it. And representation is also part of it. But okay, sorry, I can ramble a little bit. We are here to talk about the visual resistance today. So the visual resistance was an idea that, I guess it was a dream that I had one night while I was at ICP curating the show downstairs, and coming out of the electoral fog, and sort of thinking that, like, okay, what role are images going to play over the next few years? Like, how do we sort of summarize what that is? And thinking a lot about, like, the past, present, and future of image making, that came up with a whole list of it, but knew that there was some element of documentation of things that were going to happen, and of different crises, both long-term, short-term. There were creation of infographics, things that explained to people what was going on, but that we also needed to think forward to the future and try to put better images out there, understanding that we're also coming out of a period of time that, as long as there have been images, they have always been dominated by white supremacy and the white gaze. And so the information age has moved us out of that place, but it's all sort of colliding right now. I will read our nifty mission statement. The visual resistance is a super force of creative activists united in our determination to resist oppression and imagine a liberated future, okay? And so we think of ourselves as a hub. What we keep coming back to is that we want to be a hub for much activity that is happening out there, and just serve to try to connect the dots between different people and projects, so that people feel less isolated in their own circles and spheres, but understand that, like, the work all comes together as different pieces of a larger movement, of which images even are one slice of. You know, you have many, many, many different tactics that it's going to take in order to make the world a more liberated place, and for us to move out of the system that is trapping us right now. But what connects us, we articulated, is that we are connected through love and solidarity for each other and for the people in our communities. We believe in the power of images to build bridges and connect communities, to contribute to justice and collective liberation in the context of greater movement building. So we never see ourselves as disconnected from other work that's happening out there. We're not lone wolves. We're here to be team players and to help us function better as a team. We are connected by an understanding that images have contributed to both problems and solutions in our culture. Images have screwed some things up. If you think about how many shows have you seen about cops and the legal system, and how many shows have you seen about restorative justice and people solving problems between themselves or through other ways of being, that people are out there doing this work. A lot of people are figuring out other strategies. How much of that do you actually see? So trying to make those things more visible to help people understand that there are other ways of doing things that are possible. A commitment to act, we are bound together through a shared commitment to resist acts of oppression that threaten vulnerable people in our communities. And we also want to follow the leadership of those communities, okay? We're not here to reinvent the wheel. We understand that people have been dealing with a lot of bullshit for a lot of years, probably at least 500 on this continent. And people who have been affected by this have done a lot of thinking. And that doesn't, and we're here to build solidarity between all of that. And to try to figure out how to connect strategies and do our part in bringing movements together so that we can all function as a greater whole. And a shared need to channel our skills and energies into concrete resistance activities. We want to resist. We don't want to be passive observers of what's happening in the world. We want to take action. Some of us are fueled by neurotic New York Jewish anxiety. I work around the clock. I can't help it. I'm wired this way. You should meet my grandmother. And and so, I may as well channel it into making change happen. Let's see. So what are some of the things that we've done so far? So we had our first, I guess we started talking, and I keep kind of looking over to Marina Barrio back here because she's been around since the beginning.
I mean, it was pretty soon after this
November, yeah. It was November 30th, I think, that I sent this dream map to Fred that was here are the tactics. And then I showed it to you the next day and called some other people. And by the middle of January, there were about 20 of us in a room together trying to put our heads together and figure out how to make this work. And it was, again, for me, because, okay, so in my work life, I was working at the Open Society Foundations. I was teaching at ICP and curating here and sort of engaging in the photography community in some way. And then in my personal life and in the work of my heart, I was working in queer communities and trying to create these experiences that would bring people together. And these, my collective is called the Work Collective, where, we range from 19 years old to people in their 60s, artists, many different varieties that just all sort of have a common aesthetic, or we like working together. And it's a rambling, sprawling, probably there's 50 to 100 people that identify with the Work Collective in one way or another. And we make shit together. It's cool. So it was a cross, though, between these two parts of my personality that were always held very separately. I knew that the conversation needed to connect the really radical thinking from trans women of color, queer homeless youth, broke artists, people of all different backgrounds. Queerness is an intersectional identity, and there are people in our collective that are just, it is a full range of people and experiences. With the more, just the art world, we had to figure out how to cross those connections. And by the end of the first meeting, what we realized is that, we couldn't target our efforts towards, we called him John Q. Dirt Farmer, that it wasn't about convincing this mythical person who voted for Trump to change, that we had a lot of conversations that we needed to have between ourselves to get all on the same page. That we knew that we were united in resisting Trump, but what else brought us together? And what didn't? Where did we differ? Where did our tactics differ? We held a forum. We made a commitment to holding forums once a month. We thought they should migrate to different cultural institutions. The first one happened here at ICP, but up at the school. And then we migrated to Aperture. The third one was at the Hunter College Gallery. I forgot where we are next month. We're at a queer space called the Dream House next month, and then we'll be at Brick in June. So we've been trying out a bunch of different formats. We grew a tree. This was our structure for a bit. So we like thought of ourselves as one tree in the forest of resistance. And that the seed of our tree was that we believe that images play a role in movement building. Images have the power to make change. That's our tree. And we thought about, and the roots of our tree lied in a lot of the different movements that many of us had been involved in and connected by, whether it was Black Lives Matter, the things that happened at Standing Rock, whether it was like queer and trans liberation, all of the different things that people have been turning out for in the streets for hundreds of years that have informed us and brought us to this place where we're at right now. And that we also wanted to be intentional about thinking about addressing issues of the past, the present, and the future. So in the past, we were thinking about archival images that would tell stories that we needed to hear right now that give us historical perspective. We think a lot about the whitewashing of history and how to support the lifting up of stories that have always been suppressed. So that's sort of one idea, and that branch is actually the weakest one. The one that is most powerful right now is our thinking of the present. How are we reacting to what's been happening in the world? We have started to compile videos made by different collectives and different people who are documenting resistance in one way or another. But again, also educationals, forward-thinking things, music videos that like help you deal with some of the feelings that this brings up, because it's also a really emotional time. There's just a lot that gets raised by everything you believe in getting attacked by your government. And then the third branch was about imagining liberation, so sort of some of those ideas that I was talking about before. And the forums so far have been cool. We've had 50 to 100 people at most of them, usually more like 50. The first one we had 100. People are there's a lot going on in the world, but it's been very conversation-based, so we'll start out with a little bit of this, and then we break into breakout groups led by people who have ideas that they want to talk to other people about. And so most of it is discussion-based and just sort of helping people move forward. But I don't know, now we're circling around another format where we're like, maybe it's just the video reel and we get together once a month and we just look at each other's work and feel like we're connected to something bigger than ourselves. You know, we want to help people feel like you're connected to something bigger and that you're not just isolated in your house with your CNN like freaking out about what's happening in the world. Yeah, how am I doing on time?
Like 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay, cool. I only have like 3 more things to say. The last one we invited 20 different collectives to come. That's the reach of our network now, is that we could get 20 collectives to show up at our last forum, and each one presented for 5 minutes, and it was a full range of people who make things, people who are working on specific projects related to like gentrification or anti-immigrant work or what have you. And then a couple of resource organizations and sort of big picture umbrella organizations like Hands Off Our Revolution presented there. And we're really thinking about the ways that we come together around that. We made a zine, it's pretty cool. It's posted on our website, which is really bad right now. If anybody has web skills, please come find me afterwards because like it's bad right now. But the things that we're doing well are these conversations that we've been having and helping people feel connected to something. It's like there's something beautiful happening. And then the third bit of it, so we've hosted 2 liberation dinners at the Open Society Foundations that pulled together, it was people with visionary dreams who have been involved in Standing Rock, the Black Women's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, revolutions in Egypt and Cairo, trans women of color, sex workers, and people with HIV in Latin America. And all of them like work in these spaces of like, how do we get to the world of our dreams? And like, how do we deal with what's happening right now in these very pragmatic ways? And like, where do those dreams overlap? Like, my dream as a cultural producer is that I want to make a TV show that's set in that world, that shows people what a world without prisons would look like, and where everybody respects the earth every day, and where like, I don't know if there's no money or just trade is done differently, but like where people are respected and where my people can be whatever gender they want to be without anybody giving them a hard time about it. But in the context of like, that we've all healed from some of these generations of violence and trauma that are impacting how we behave and how we treat each other. Those were the centerpieces from the last one, the dinner that we had last week. So it was just like a room, and there were 5 or 6 tables, and there was a set of balloons and this idea in the center of them, and people from all walks of life, all different kinds of activists and different just concerned individuals just sat at a table and talked about this for an hour. And then we sang some freedom songs, and that was it. It was very beautiful. Maybe that's it for my rambles. I don't know how to conclude it. That's good? Okay, we'll talk later. Thanks.
Great. That was really exciting to learn about visual resistance. And again, for anyone that has any questions or comments about it, after Tom speaks, we'll open the floor up so we can have a discussion. I didn't call out, but you saw it visually. I just want to retouch on these 2 questions that the night is structured around. So as you're thinking and as you're listening to these speakers, have these questions in mind. I don't know if this will do anything. Oh, look, there's more. Oh, great. Okay. So here are the questions, and they're under each speaker's name just so we remind ourselves as the next person speaks. So the role of art and activism today. What is the responsibility and power of image making in our current socio-political climate? And how can artists and organizations unify and support one another in collective action? So obviously Quito was speaking a lot about collective action and image making. So all of the speeches you'll hear tonight and all of the talks will be around these themes. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Tom. So Tom Mcdonough is a writer and critic based in upstate New York and Toronto whose work addresses the intersections of art and political struggle in the post-war era, with a special emphasis on France. He is widely known for his books on the Situationists International, very relevant, which includes The Beautiful Language of My Century, Reinventing the Language of Contestation in Post-War France, 1945 through 1968, Guy Debord and the Situationists International Texts and Documents, and The Situationists in the City. So if you have any questions about the Situationists, speak to this man, clearly. Mcdonough's essays on contemporary art and photography have appeared in journals such as After All, Art Forum, and Osmos, where he is a contributing editor. He is Associate Professor of Art History at Binghamton University, State University of New York, teaching the history of the European avant-gardes and modern art and architecture. This is very interesting. I'm really excited. Yes.
Thank you.